Artists are accused of stealing from other artists all the time by fans. Pharrell was accused of stealing from Marvin Gaye, Drake's been accused of stealing his persona from different cultures, and Led Zeppelin's been accused of stealing Stairway to Heaven. But accusations like these are typically one-offs, and there are actually some artists that have been accused of stealing their entire persona, their brand, their image, and their style from other artists. And there are actually some very interesting grounds to these claims. So today we're going to look into pop stars who stole their entire brand, starting off with Lady Gaga. First though, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Qobuz. On this channel I've covered different streaming services like Spotify and how a lot of the biggest services just aren't the best. But Qobuz is a great independent platform for music lovers, with a few very cool and unique features. First of all, Qobuz offers over 100 million tracks with the richest selection of high quality music. And second of all, they have editorial playlists in every single genre, curated by their team, journalists, artists, labels, and partners that work with them. They really prioritize human curation, unlike other platforms, which can help showcase a diverse group of artists and genres. The Discover page is very optimized and personalized for a great music discovery experience. You have your editor's picks, which of course are from the editorial team. There's the For You, which is personalized based on your listening, and the homepage, which has a mix of the two. And one of the coolest things that Qobuz does is pay artists much more than your average streaming service would. Qobuz is super artist oriented, and they only have high-res and lossless audio subscriptions. They really push to highlight artists and genres that get a little less exposure. So if you're passionate about music, if you want to support artists more, or if you're an audio nerd, or if you're all of the above, then Qobuz is for you. You can even import your libraries and playlists from other services for free using Soundiz. And right now, Qobuz is offering a free 2-month trial if you use my link in the description below. So why not give it a try and have the chance to listen to higher quality music and support the artists you love. Thanks again to Qobuz for sponsoring this video. I highly recommend them. And with that being said, let's continue. In New York in the early 2000s, there was an up-and-coming pop artist who was looking for her big break. Her music style mixed pop with dance and electronic music, and she was known for her eccentric dress sense, crazy wigs, thigh-high boots, and other clothes seemingly designed to attract as much attention as possible. Her name was Lina Morgana. Morgana's producer, Rob Fusari, who had worked with artists like Destiny's Child and Beyonce, introduced her to a young singer named Stefani Germanotta, who's better known today as Lady Gaga. The plan was for Lady Gaga to help Lina Morgana write songs, and work with her as her backup dancer and vocalist, with the two working on a bunch of songs together. Soon enough though, Rob Fusari started dating Lady Gaga, and over time her career began to overshadow Lina's. Rob was once Morgana's mentor, but now his focus was shifting. He even gave Gaga her stage name, when his phone autocorrected Radio Gaga a Queen song to Lady Gaga, and the name stuck. In 2008, she had her big breakthrough album, The Fame, which went 6 times platinum and spent almost 4 years at #1 on the dance charts. That same year, however, Lina's life would go tragically in a different direction. Less than a year after she began collaborating with Lady Gaga, Morgana fell from the top of a 10-story hotel and at only 19 years old was pronounced dead. According to Lina's mother, she was suggesting that Lady Gaga had stolen Lina Morgana's entire career. As she told New York Post, Lina had that style. Gaga had a different style. She changed dramatically. Lina had a hard life because we immigrated from Russia. People would make fun of her because she was different. Her mom was a single mom. Every other word she says is from Lina. She talks about having a dark and tragic life, but she had everything she wanted in the world. She went to the same high school as Nikki Hilton. Her parents were rich. But Lina did have a tough life, and she often talked about her tragic life. Her mom even went as far as to claim, "Lady Gaga is holding Lina's soul, and I want her soul to be free." Her mom also came with some receipts. Not only did she reveal a bunch of images showing how similar their styles were, but she also released one of the 12 tracks the two had recorded together, a track that would have fit right onto the album Fame. She was also backed up by a number of people who knew Morgana. Her ex-boyfriend Tyler Schwab said that it was the same style, the same look, the same music, the same voice, the same jawline, the way they expressed themselves. And I was like, is that Lina? It was so shocking. It was like looking at a ghost. And for a lot of people, they weren't too happy about Lady Gaga's response to this whole controversy. Lina's mother wanted the songs they did together to be released, but Gaga's team did not allow for that to happen. To this day, Gaga has never said a single word about Morgana, refusing every single question about it. And when the news first broke, pages that were discussing it on her own fan forum were getting shut down. This has led people down some darker paths and leading to a bunch of conspiracy theories. and I've actually covered these way back in the day because the circumstances around Lina's death were strange. It was ruled a suicide, but Lina hadn't had any suicidal tendencies documented before. According to onlookers, she was actually seen dancing on the rooftop prior to her fall, which seems strange. Plus, the music video for Lady Gaga's song Paparazzi seemed to have a lot of strangely coincidental similarities with Morgana's passing. Not only does it feature Gaga's character being pushed off the roof of a building to her death, but a newspaper flashes over her with the headline "Lady No More Gaga," which some people think is a reference to how Lady Gaga stole Morgana's career. Some people have theorized that Lady Gaga herself was the one who pushed Morgana off the balcony, but that most certainly was not the case. Aside from the fact that Lady Gaga was in Los Angeles filming a TV show, I think if you murdered someone, you probably wouldn't want to film a music video referencing it. So what actually happened between the two? Well, Rob Fusari, the music producer who introduced them in the first place, is a key figure in the story. He went on to write and produce many songs for Gaga, including some of her biggest hits. I think the most likely explanation is he had been looking to make Morgana into a star, but when Lady Gaga came along, he switched his focus to her. Rather than coming up with a new image or style for Gaga, he simply decided to borrow the one he had already created for Lina. And Lina had a troubled upbringing, and over 70% of independent musicians suffer from stress, anxiety, and depression. It sadly seems a whole lot more likely that Morgana took her own life instead of her being killed by Lady Gaga. So the best we can hope for is that she's resting peacefully now. Poppy is another artist who's allegedly stolen their own brand, with a lot of very dark accusations mixed in as well. But unlike with Gaga, these accusations actually seem to have a bit of weight to them. In 2011, Poppy created a YouTube channel called Mariah Poppy, seeking to promote her work. The videos she uploaded were pretty typical for that era of YouTube, with vlogs, song covers, and sometimes skits. Then in 2014, every single video she had uploaded was suddenly deleted and scrubbed from the internet. It's pretty difficult to find even short sections of these videos online, and even using the Wayback Machine doesn't work. She changed her channel name to Poppy and began to upload videos of a very different kind, beginning with Poppy Eats Cotton Candy. The video continues like this for an entire minute, and she continued releasing things like this. Very surreal and honestly pretty creepy videos. She even started creating this fictional world, with a recurring character named Charlotte, a drug-addicted celebrity interviewer played by a mannequin with a synthetic voice.
Hi everyone, I am Charlotte and we're here today with everyone's favorite internet girl Poppy.
Hello Charlotte, thank you for having me on this internet broadcast.
And a bunch of other weird stuff. And these videos, I don't know if you guys remember this era, but these videos were very successful. I'm Poppy, which consisted of her repeating those two words for 10 minutes, is currently at 29 million views, which is pretty crazy.
I'm Poppy, I am Poppy, I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy, I'm Poppy.
Soon, she was being featured in mainstream media pieces and countless investigative YouTube videos, trying to explain what was going on. And because of all the eyes she had on her, a lot of them were redirected toward her music. Her sixth video uploaded was a pretty average cover of Mac DeMarco's My Kind of Woman, but it racked up 13 million views. And what she was doing was an example of guerrilla marketing, which is driving attention towards your brand, not with conventional advertising, but bizarre, weird, or creative content that gets people talking. Poppy's videos seemed so weird that it wasn't surprising she was soon signed to Island Records. And she released several albums, with one even featuring Grimes. She was included in YouTube's 2017 Rewind and won Breakthrough Artist of the Year at the Streamies. Everything seemed to be going well for Poppy. But on April 17th, 2018, a bombshell was dropped. An artist by the name of Mars Argo filed a 44-page lawsuit in California seeking damages for copyright infringement and emotional and physical abuse. It turns out that Poppy's weird videos with the white backgrounds and all that wasn't super original. In fact, they were pretty much identical to videos that had been previously released by Mars Argo.
Welcome to our computer show. I'm Mars Argo.
I mean, the two of them even look the same. So, what is going on? Well, similar to the last story, a very important character here is a guy named Titanic Sinclair. Not only was he Poppy's boyfriend, but the director of her videos and a musical collaborator as well. And similar to the last section, he did the same thing with Mars Argo previously. Titanic had used Argo's videos to promote the pair's band, a band confusingly called Mars Argo. So why did he switch from Mars to Poppy? Well, as Mars detailed in her lawsuit, throughout their relationship, she was living a nightmare, enduring severe emotional and psychological abuse and manipulation manipulation. Titanic constantly belittled Mars, telling her she was nothing, that her career needed him to survive, and that he could leave and find another musician to work with whenever he wanted. Eventually, Mars broke free after Titanic cheated on her, but Titanic didn't accept the breakup. He started stalking and harassing her, repeatedly breaking into her home, and as the lawsuit detailed, Titanic eventually found Poppy and they began dating. They then rebranded her YouTube channel, with him using the exact same style he had previously used with Mars. Side note here, Titanic is a crazy name. Kind of cool though. Poppy soon uploaded a response to the lawsuit, but a lot of people weren't happy with it. Rather than offering up any kind of proof for a conclusive denial, she mostly seemed to focus on belittling Mars for not being as famous as her.
Some people become famous, but most people do not.
The next video she made seemed to be poking fun at Mars for being abused, which obviously didn't sit right with people. Despite how clear-cut the plagiarism was here, the case was actually settled out of court. On the one hand, Mars was given full ownership of the videos she had made with Titanic, and Titanic and Poppy were both banned for mentioning Mars on social media, which resulted in Titanic deleting 12,000 tweets. Kinda crazy, dude. But on the other hand, Mars didn't get anything really positive from the lawsuit. She didn't get a restraining order, she didn't get any money or any copyright stuff, so it didn't work out too well. And as far as most people know, this is where the case ends. Poppy continued her musical career alongside Titanic, while Mars Argo's career was on pause. But that's not entirely the case, as thankfully this story has a little bit of a happy ending. In 2019, Poppy broke up with Titanic, accusing him of emotional abuse, and it explains her original response to the Mars allegations. As she put it, "I was never an accomplice to Titanic's past actions like some believe. I was a person who suffered similar wrongdoings as Argo brought to light." Even better, Mars Argo managed to get her music career back on track, and in 2022 she released her first new song in more than a decade, following it up with an EP in 2024. Not only this, but her new music's been pretty successful, and she currently has 1.3 million monthly listeners on Spotify. So in both instances here, with Lady Gaga and Poppy, they seem to have been heavily influenced by the people around them and their managers. However, our next person on the list made all the decisions himself. Kid Rock is an artist who screams the South, and it makes sense with his love of the Confederate flag and the redneck image he puts on. But he's actually more open about how he was born in Detroit, sort of. He was born and raised in a village on the edge of Detroit. His dad was the owner of a chain of car dealerships, and in the 1970s in Detroit, that meant quite a bit of wealth. Kid Rock didn't grow up in a trailer, like he might have you thinking. He grew up in a 5,600-foot mega mansion with tennis courts, barns, and places to run for horses, an entire separate guest house, and so on. But rather than inheriting the family business, Kid Rock decided he wanted a career in music. And so he did something that I guess worked out, but probably wasn't the best idea. So he decided to copy one of the most successful white rappers at that time, Vanilla Ice. I mean, he even copied Vanilla Ice's fashion, the same kind of clothes, a similar hairstyle, and the music he released was very similar. The problem was Vanilla Ice very quickly became the single uncoolest person in hip-hop right after his hit, being relentlessly mocked online. Ripping off Vanilla Ice in late 1990 would be like ripping off Lil Pump in 2018. As a result, his debut album, Grit Sandwiches for Breakfast, didn't do all too well, and critics hated it. Edward Hill wrote, "Grit Sandwiches for Breakfast is proof that small minds make small music. Rock, who nicknamed himself Your Royal Pimpness, has failed miserably in his effort to convey cool, and that it was amazing that other rappers will tolerate this stupid parody of their art form." Also, similar to Vanilla Ice, he lied about his upbringing, telling journalists shocking tales about a life in the projects of East Detroit, along with plenty of lyrics about gangs, crime, and poverty. That's not the worst thing about Kid Rock's lyrics on this album, though. They are so horrible that I almost don't want to read them out loud. The album didn't sell too poorly, but he was dropped by his label shortly afterward. At this point, Kid Rock could have gone back to his life as an idle rich kid. Instead, though, he decided to keep trying at music. But he completely changed his sound and style again. After signing to an indie label, he released the Polyfuse Method, marking a shift into more of a rap rock style. Although, to be fair, a lot of people have compared them to Beastie Boys songs. As his career continued, Kid Rock leaned more into rap, rock, and nu metal. You might be wondering, oh, maybe that's more his style, you know, maybe he's really appreciative of rock and stuff like that. But no, that's not actually the case. As he told Rolling Stone, "I was like, this has gotta work. So what's popular? Corn." And it worked, because in 2008 he released All Summer Long, which was the biggest hit of his entire career. All Summer Long by Kid Rock is pretty rough. It's also pretty unoriginal. The song openly staples together two older songs, both of which are Sweet Home Alabama and Werewolves in London. And the opening drum fill is basically an exact replica of the drum fill at the start of Smells Like Teen Spirit. What did separate Kid Rock from other artists at the time was how much he leaned into this redneck pimp persona. Why you would want to listen to a redneck pimp, I'm not sure, but country artists had been playing up their redneck criminal connection type of thing for a while. I mean, it goes back to Johnny Cash. But with Kid Rock, it's very inauthentic. It's honestly kind of surprising how much he leaned into this trailer park type of image. Back in 2017, he went on this whole press run about how he decided to live in a double-wide trailer, even featuring it in one of his music videos. And as he told one reporter, "I live in a double-wide trailer. It's not like I require a lot. You know, I've learned to downsize through the years, and it's really made me more happy." What he left out, though, was that the trailer was located on hundreds of acres of land that he bought for a few $1,000,000, located not too far from a giant mansion of his. Rather than a trailer park, he was in his own personal little kingdom with a private gas station, a barbershop, a church, an aircraft hangar, pickleball courts, and much more. So I'm guessing he doesn't actually spend too much time in that trailer. There's plenty of pictures of him in his house, and he built a giant replica of the White House on his land with several gold-plated urinals just a few years later, and he showed it off in a video with Tucker Carlson. And that brings us to what Kid Rock is best known for nowadays, which is politics. Kid Rock at this point is a bit less of a musician and more of a Republican celebrity, appearing on Fox News and even the White House, along with, most obviously, his recent performance at Turning Point's halftime show. However, for most of his career, he's actually been openly anti-political, and as he said at Woodstock 99,
"You want me to get political? Well, this is about as deep as Kid Rock thinks. Monica Lewinsky is a fucking hoe, and Bill Clinton is a goddamn pimp."
He even appeared in an advertisement alongside actor and progressive activist Sean Penn about how important it is to not let politics divide us. So what changed? Well, I'll give you a second to think about it. It was money. As his old lawyer told Rolling Stone, right now he recognizes 90% of the people who come to his shows are buying into what he's doing and saying politically. If he thinks he's going to make money taking a certain position, then I think a lot of those things are driven by business. The thing is though, Kid Rock has realized what kind of position he's put himself in. He said in a Rolling Stone interview, "I'm part of the problem. I'm one of the polarizing people. No question. Sometimes I bitch about other people, then I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh yeah, why don't you shut the fuck up too?" He even seems to regret becoming a conservative celebrity more than a musician, saying, "No one's ever gonna say fuck Prince. Prince is known for Purple Rain. I'm known for shooting up Bud Light cans." So why does he keep doing this then? Well, because as he put it, it makes him shit tons of money. This whole interview is pretty weird, and he's saying the N-word a bunch, and he even waves a gun at the reporter and begs him not to leave. So overall, Kid Rock is a pretty weird guy. Kid Rock basically made his career ripping off other artists, but he used to rip off semi-competent musicians. These days, he's more focused on copying Tom MacDonald. However, Kid Rock isn't an artist I care too much for, so this doesn't really hurt too much. But the same cannot be said for our next pop star. If you're around my age, I'm willing to bet you've not only heard Waka Waka, but that is pretty nostalgic for you. Shakira is an artist few people have had anything bad to say about. The Guardian even wrote an article called "The Making of Saint Shakira." Unfortunately, a lot of her career has been built on taking from others, with Waka Waka being one of those things. If you listen to Shakira, this is how the song came to her.
Waka Waka it's a dear song to me. You know, it came to me, to answer your question, came to me in the most unexpected way. I was taking a few days off in my farm in Uruguay, and I walked from the barn to the house, and on that walk, boom, it came to me.
But this is a blatant lie. The chorus of Waka Waka is taken word for word from a song called Zangalua. Zangalua was recorded by a Cameroonian band called Golden Sound, made up of former guards of the Cameroonian president. This wasn't a sample or an interpolation or anything like that either, it was actually just stolen. She never gave them any money in compensation. Even as the plagiarism became clear, the group's lead singer complained, "We are really powerless to travel to the United States to assert our rights." He also pointed out Shakira wasn't the only artist to steal from them. James Brown had actually done the same exact thing a few decades earlier. Regardless though, Waka Waka actually became the 2010 World Cup song. FIFA were already being criticized for choosing a non-African artist to make the song for the first World Cup in Africa, so the fact that a non-African artist had stolen from an African band was even worse. As a result, the case did have a happy ending, and the group was compensated as they got credits, and it drove a lot of attention towards their song. But this isn't the only case in which Shakira has stolen from another artist. Her 2025 tour included dancers dressed in chrome silver, a massive silver animal model, and text behind her in this specific font. The problem is, Beyonce had done the exact same thing on her Renaissance tour a few years earlier. I mean, they even had identical announcement posts. Was this all just some crazy coincidence? Well, considering that Shakira had literally been seen at Beyonce's Renaissance tour and said she had been taking notes, probably not. However, it was less like she was taking notes and more like she was just copying and pasting. Shakira has actually faced a bunch of other plagiarism accusations, although some of them have been pretty dubious. She was sued over her song La Bicicleta because of similarities to a song by an artist called Livam. In particular, it was alleged that the lyrics translating as "I dream of you, I love you so much" copied Livam's lyrics "I love you so much, I love you so much." She's currently facing a plagiarism case from an artist called Luana Morris, alleging that Shakira's strangely titled hit song BZRP Music Sessions number 5366 lyrics stole from her song 222. Moros's lawyers stated that the refrain's melody has entire identical phrases, and there are other similarities, such as the song's theme, adultery, overcoming betrayal, and female empowerment. The probability of all this happening accidentally, simultaneously, in a short span of 3 years is 0. So clearly Shakira is not the most original artist in the world, but it hasn't really affected her career too much or got her too much criticism. The same, however, cannot be said about Ariana Grande. In the early years of her career, there was one artist who Ariana Grande seemed obsessed with retreading: Mariah Carey. Ariana's music was very similar to Mariah's. As one journalist put it, they shared a penchant for R&B that bleeds into the pop realm, an on-the-surface innocence belied by a lurking flint of sexuality, the use of hip-hop touchstones, and of course, whistle tones. Whistle tones in particular were an iconic part of Carey's music that became a touchstone of Grande's early work. They even started calling Ariana a young Mariah Carey, a name which Mariah wasn't too pleased with. A few similarities could probably be forgiven, as Mariah is one of the biggest pop stars of all time, and Ariana said she was inspired by her.
People are giving you, like, saying that you remind them of Mariah Carey.
You know, as like an artist, you always have to be compared to somebody else, but I think that it's the biggest compliment in the world. She's like the vocalist.
My #1 vocal inspiration. I mean, she's mother.
But over time, it started to look less like inspiring and more like straight up stealing. Ariana started wearing the same outfits as Mariah, released albums with near identical covers, and even performed the same dance moves. When she performed the Christmas carol "O Holy Night," guess who her version sounded virtually identical to? On their own, these could probably just be coincidences since they did paint a different picture, and so on. For much of her career, Ariana was dismissed as nothing but a Mariah Carey clone. But in the late 2010s, as Ariana changed her style a little bit and started to make more hip-hop music, many of the tracks on her newer albums had these rattling hi-hats and 808 kick drums of trap music. Unfortunately, to her critics, this change in sound was matched simply by a change in what she was plagiarizing from, and here we can't really get away from the topic of race. Ariana Grande, if you guys have not been aware, is notoriously known for changing her race. It sounds weird, but we'll get into it. Because Ariana is an Italian American with 2 completely white parents. But despite being pretty white, she presents herself differently depending on the situation. For example, she tans herself a lot, and this side-by-side comparison is pretty crazy. As Pete Davidson said in a comedy special, "Can you imagine if I did that? My career would be over tomorrow if I spray painted myself brown and hopped on the cover of Vogue magazine." It isn't just her look either, but also the way she talks. I mean, here's how she spoke at the beginning of her career, and here's how she sounded more recently.
Do you know where all of your awards are right now?
Yeah.
Where are they?
You shouldn't have said that. Don't give him any ideas, man.
Is hosting an awards show the worst possible gig?
Yeah, I just want to sing. I want to be there. I want to hit my mark, do my choreo, like feel good in it.
Have you ever considered phoning it in and lip syncing?
I'm good, man.
Will you stay on the 13th floor?
Kill me, get your ass in here.
That's a good question.
The universe has a plan.
Always.
But sometimes it's a really gnarly plan.
And it's not like she's really done much to clear up any confusion about her race either. She was included on a Spotify list for Black History Month, the only non-black artist included. And of course, she didn't mention it to Spotify. All of this has led to her being accused of blackfishing, using makeup, tanning, and other procedures to appear black, benefiting from cultural clout and driving social media engagement. But when it's more advantageous to appear white, like on the cover of Vogue, she leans into that. In 2021, she even deleted an Instagram post after being accused of yellowface, which, although the term sounds pretty racist, is actually what it's called. Stealing from black artists hasn't just been a feature of her public image either, but her music as well. This was best shown in her single 7 Rings, which really cemented her movement into a more hip-hop type sound. Unfortunately for her though, a lot of people accused her of stealing this song. First was Princess Nokia, although she did later delete this video.
Ain't that the little song I made about brown women and their hair? Sounds about white.
Then was Soulja Boy, who got involved going off on her on Instagram Live and accusing her of being a thief who stole his swag in a series of tweets. Although it is Soulja Boy, so take whatever he says with a grain of salt. To be fair though, his criticisms actually had a decent amount of merit here. 7 Rings undeniably uses basically the same flow as Big Draco's track Pretty Boy Swag. Finally, 2 Chainz jumped on the train, alleging not only that the song's chorus copied his song Spend It, but also that the music video was a ripoff too. It featured a massive pink trap house, just like the pink trap house 2 Chainz had set up as a publicity stunt for his album Pretty Girls Like Trap Music. So it seems like Ariana Grande does have a little bit of plagiarism throughout her career. In this video, every single artist blatantly stole something from someone else, and yet none of them really saw any serious consequences. Honestly, if you're looking for easy success in the music industry, being yourself is probably a much worse decision than taking from someone who's already succeeded. Thanks again to Qobuz for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check them out in the description below. And if you like this video, you might like my video about artists who stole their their biggest song, as the video is a bit more legal centric, but it covers similar topics, like the Pharrell incident I mentioned earlier. So make sure to click the video that's on screen right now.